Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the NSCS GEICO ScholarCAST, HERstory, a conversation about leadership, success, and authenticity. My name is Courtney Pomeran, and I am the Member Engagement Specialist with NSCS. Before we get started, I wanted to go over some housekeeping rules. We are recording the session for those who could not attend, as well as for yourselves to refer back to if you wish. We will be posting the recording onto Scholar Central within the next 24 to 48 hours. You will also get a recording or an email of the recording through email later on. We will have a time at the end of the session for a brief Q&A session, so be sure to submit your questions. You can locate the question box on your menu bar. Our chat box is currently unavailable, so if you have any comments or questions, please be sure to use that questions box. All mics and cameras are muted to ensure our panelists have time to share their thoughts and wisdom with us. If you look within the menu bar, you will see handouts. We have some handouts that we would like to provide to you with direct links to NSCS and GEICO sponsored scholarship opportunities, the LinkedIn accounts for each of our GEICO panelists, a direct link to GEICO in the community, and GEICO career opportunities. So please feel free to save those handouts, and we will also upload those to Scholar Central within the next 24 to 48 hours. All right, without further ado, it is with great pleasure to introduce our GEICO Corporate Community Engagement Lead, Teresa Knabb. We are excited to jump into this conversation about leadership and success and authenticity with Teresa and the rest of the GEICO team. Thank you again for joining us, and Teresa, the floor is yours.
All right. Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Teresa. I'm the Community Engagement Lead for GEICO Corporate. We are extremely excited to hang out with y'all for a little bit this afternoon, and we appreciate you spending your time with us. We know there's a lot going on, so thank you for being here. I do want to share that our goal today is that no matter where you're at in your career journey, if you're just starting out or like you're fresh or you've been grinding for a little bit, that you walk away feeling encouraged and more equipped to be your authentic self, and then also bring your authentic self into your career every day. To give you a few expectations for the flow of today's talk, kind of like Courtney mentioned, I'll have the panelists introduce themselves. We'll share what we all do with GEICO. We'll start the conversation with some pre-submitted questions about finding success at GEICO, showing up as our best selves, and then we will move into the Q&A. I know that no one can come off mute, but as Courtney said, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will be monitoring and would love to answer as many as we can. Before we dive into questions, though, we'll do introductions. So I know you guys have like our corporate bio. So I'll skip that and just introduce myself as Teresa. I've been at GEICO for 11 years. I've worked in 3 of our offices, and I just moved to the DMV area with my poodle Tarzan. And I'm excited because we're going to see the cherry blossoms today. So that's my introduction. And then Mallorie, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Mallorie Wood. Of course, you guys have what I've done in my career at GEICO, but a little bit more about myself. I grew up in the South. I'm a Southern girl with a family of 6. I was the youngest and the most rebellious of the crew, if anybody can relate to that. And in today's session, I really just hope you guys take away the different perspectives that we all come with, and there's not just one way to be, your best self.
Makissa Tate. I too was born in the South. I call Virginia South. I guess it's not so Southern anymore. Come out of the Fredericksburg office for the past 25 years. Always out of the Fredericksburg office. I'm currently an empty nester officially, and pre-COVID, I loved traveling all the time and hosting events, and I'm hoping to get back into that really, really soon on a consistent basis. And my takeaway. Yeah. Your takeaway today would be about taking great care of yourself, and we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Thank you. Anna?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. I think she might have lost connection.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do so that we can carry on is we'll move into the questions, and then when Anna hops back in, we'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself and get to know, y'all can get to know her.
Sure.
So I thought what we do, we start off on a high note and talk about proudest moments of our GEICO careers thus far. For me, mine was moving into a philanthropic world. It was risky, but extremely rewarding. So that's my proudest moment. Mallorie, what would you say is the proudest moment of your GEICO career? I think you're on mute.
I think you're muted, Mallorie.
Gotta love WebEx, even this, or virtual, even this longest. So I've had a lot of proud moments, but really my first one started off very early in my career, and I feel like it kind of set the tone for me. I had reached supervision within the first 2 years in our Macon, Georgia office, which is, that's where I'm from. If any of you guys have driven to Florida, it's probably past Macon. And GEICO is such a large part of the community that I was the youngest and least tenured in the whole department, and it was really big for me to be able to achieve that within that short amount of time. And in 2014, when our Emergency Road Service department came up to the Indianapolis office, this was a big move for us as a department. And I kind of threw my name in the hat, not thinking much of it, but my director gave me a recommendation to the officer in Indianapolis at the time to really be able to wet my feet and come up here and start training. And her confidence in me as a very, very young leader and what I could do really was a proud moment for me. And even hindsight, looking back now, that one decision really shaped the next decade of my life by moving up to Indiana.
Awesome. So huge risk, but I'm glad that it paid off for you. Anna, I see that you're back. So if we'll have you introduce yourself, say what you hope the audience takes away from today's session.
Awesome. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Sorry about, technical difficulties. I'm sure we'll have more than just the beginning here throughout this hour. But I'm Anna, and I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and graduated from Penn State. And I started with GEICO right out of college nearly 16 years ago. I've worked and lived in Fredericksburg and Virginia Beach, Virginia, San Diego, California, and Lakeland based on moves and promotions with GEICO. And a little bit about me outside of GEICO, my husband Dan and I will celebrate our 15th year of marriage this year. We have 3 kids, Brady 13, Ace 9, and Kimberly 2. And I hope that today, as you invest in yourself for an hour, you can identify where it makes sense for you, and you walk away with practical information and advice that you can immediately apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. And we'll actually toss the next question to you. What is, or what has been one of the proudest moments of your GEICO career so far?
Yeah, it's a great question. I loved Mallorie's answer, but I would say for me that it's really been understanding my true capacity of leading through a situation with zero roadmap, and that's the pandemic. So for GEICO, this was a huge change. We had no work from home capability for the majority of our company. So we had some for our staff departments and our IT departments, but the majority of our GEICO associates are customer facing, and we had no technology to be able to get them to be able to work from home. So I'll never forget it. We went from hearing about what is this COVID thing to about a week in, starting to have meetings about it. And then all of a sudden it was we need to get all associates home immediately. And that was within a series of hours. So it almost felt like the end of the world. I was standing there looking at my department. We were physically bagging computers, putting them in black trash bags to get associates out the door safely at home, at least with something to work with while we worked out the tech solution. And I also had to figure out how to keep contact with my large team. I had 1,000 people at the time. How do I keep them close when our technology is catching up too? Our Skype groups, I think we could only have 30 people in a Skype group at a time. That doesn't work with a huge team. So we got creative, having virtual lunches. We did team building activities. I tried to offer some comp days for our management team because we were working nearly 24/7 at the beginning to get our department going and keep the company on their feet. And I think as a regional and company-wide leader for help in this process, as well as leadership and management. And this wasn't explicitly said or given to me. It's what I assumed as a leader. And ultimately it transpired into great results during that year, even despite the challenge. And GEICO made me so proud during this time because we were evolving together and there was a lot of support. And this was at a time when a lot of companies were closing their doors or downsizing, but our company continued to thrive and provide work from home opportunities for all associates.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Anna. And I kind of want to echo that and give props to the GEICO leadership during that work from home transition. Mine was so seamless. My manager just said, grab your laptop and like you probably want to grab your plant because I don't think it'll get watered for 2 weeks, but bring it right back like it was the office plant, right? And here we are 2 years later. So thank you to all of you for your great leadership in that transition. I know outside of work, things started off a little bit rocky for me personally with trying to find like a new groove in work from home. I kind of took me a little longer than I'd like to admit, but I finally realized I needed to keep the same routine that I had pre-pandemic, which is like gym, walk my dog, take a shower, and like, believe it or not, get out of my pajamas to come to work. I couldn't sit in my pajamas all day. And even though I didn't want to do those things because the pandemic was happening, it allowed me to bring my best self to work and to the body of work that I'm very blessed to be able to do and passionate about. So what I would love to hear from you, Makissa, is I know you have amazing energy. I'm excited for everyone to be able to get that from you today. I want to hear about the top 2 things you do daily to get yourself prepared and set up for success.
Well, for me, my preparedness starts for tomorrow. It starts today at the end of the day. I try to focus really, really hard on being responsive and acknowledging requests. Not everything needs a full answer, but for me to be prepared, it's tough when you start to get in the habit of saying, oh, I'll respond to that tomorrow. I'll get with that the next day, because guess what? You'll start to spiral. So to me, it's a hit it when you get it approach. Even at the end of the day, to take 30 minutes or 45 minutes to kind of recap your day and prepare for the next day. When you have a team, especially in IT, requests come in after hours, requests come in first thing. And for me to be my best self, I have to be prepared and take that time, because there is a quality of life balance, right? Like, you have to make sure that you're not working around the clock and after hours, but to get that level of preparedness so that you're not frazzled, you minimize surprises, and your teams will appreciate you for that, to really set yourself up for success. And the other thing that I do, which probably many people do, is I'm all about energy and vibes, right? It sounds like telling you my generation. I'm all about the vibes. So listening to music puts me right in a good headspace first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'll turn it on while I'm getting ready upstairs or throwing a load of laundry, but it feels good. And when that feel good you start your day off a little bit high energy. I'm sure I annoy a lot of people with this high energy first thing, 7 o'clock in the morning, but it's who I am. And for me, it's more along the lines of like a little bit of old school R&B, some new stuff. Can't tell you some of the ratchet stuff, but some of that too. Depends on the day. But that's what I do, my 2 things.
Awesome. Well, I can absolutely relate to the high energy in the morning. But what I want to know before we move on is, on the days where nothing's clicking and you just kind of need like a reset moment, what song are you going to put on? Like, what is one of your go-tos that you can share with us?
That I can share a little bit of Bruno Mars. I love Jasmine Sullivan. Like, it's things like that where, a little bit more upbeat, just to kind of put me in a calmer space. To me, I always gravitate back to Pandora, some of the old school R&B, because it's a time where I didn't have bills or responsibility. So it takes me down memory lane to put me just kind of right back to where I was. So that's typically what I do.
Awesome. I love that. And so we'll go to you, Mallorie. I know that I get a lot of emails from you later at night. I'm probably on my 2nd or 3rd REM cycle of sleep. I'm knocked out, and there you are plugging away with these great responses. So I think you're probably a night owl. So your mornings may look a little different. What does it look like for you in the morning to wake up and be prepared?
Yes, I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a morning person. But I rather very much sleep till a little bit later on, 8 or 9 o'clock. And I'll be on much later than the rest, of course, to make sure everything's taken care of. But, while we're talking about authenticity, I think it is important to also see both sides. Someone can be their most productive self at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. And for me, I start waking up at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 at night, And my job requires a lot of creativity, and I feel like I'm naturally the most creative once I've kind of gotten all my big things done. I'm done with work. I've spent some family time. I've had a little bit of relaxation, and now I'm just there. I'm really able to kind of be my most creative self that I need for some of my projects. And that's usually when people hear from me of my ideas. But in the morning time, I do think it is still a good point to still have some reflection. You know, I personally, every single morning before I get out of bed, I'm the type of person where I have to pray before I get out of bed. Religion's really important for me in my life, and before I even start my new day, I want to be able to reflect on what I'm thankful for, kind of bring in that gratitude, what I may need help with that I already recognize in myself. And then I start my day, and then I think about work-wise what my team needs and what somebody really needs from me to go ahead and start mentally preparing for that.
Cool, thank you. One thing I do love, one of the many things I love about working with you, Mallorie, is that you seem to have a really good balance of giving off like, I have my life together vibes, but you are your authentic self at work. And I know you're never being fake, and you don't mind telling me if what I'm asking doesn't make sense. So I love that. Can you talk to us about finding balance between coming off as professional and as a leader, but also staying authentic to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was so funny when I was first asked this question by you, I thought back to when my first day at GEICO. When I was 18 years old, I took a picture of my very first day at GEICO, and I was wearing like this New York and Company button-down shirt with pants. I pleated them because I'm from the South, and my dad didn't have you walk out the house without pleated dress pants. And, you know, I'm having my hands in my pocket, and I just looked so stiff, you know, but I was being who I thought I needed to be, starting a job as important as this. And the last officer that I worked with really talked about being your authentic self and not bringing it in who you thought you should be, but bringing in who you really are and the way that that connects you to people. And she really made me start to mold and be true to myself. It didn't matter if it was the dress that I was wearing, how I carried myself, or if I have a little bit of a sillier personality, when we're talking and we're having those moments and meetings and things like that, bringing that to the table. Because sometimes you need a good joke to keep some of the tough stuff that we're talking about going along. And so it definitely has been an evolution over time, but I will say that I now consciously try to find ways to bring my non-corporate self into my corporate atmosphere. Because in doing that, I feel way more engaged and happier because it's not like I'm taking off a part of me before I enter into work. I'm finding ways that I can always bring myself into every atmosphere and every situation that I'm in, and that brings me a lot more joy. So it doesn't matter, you know, whoever you are, if you're a fanatic for your kids, or if you're a pet parent, or if your race and religion groups are really important to you, whatever makes you you, I think you really want to try to figure out how I can still share that passion that I have with those that are around me and bring that to the table because it brings value to wherever you are.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you. And so I know that authenticity is something that's important when moving into leadership. Those are really good pieces of advice. Some other things that I'd love to know about moving into, when you're looking to move into leadership, is like, what are you looking for? Because, you know, depending on the field that you're in, there's limited number of jobs. It seems like everyone is out here hustling, like their resumes are this long, you know, and it's just like, man, what can I do that puts me ahead or separates me from the other people that are out there on LinkedIn, you know, filling out applications. So Anna, I know that you work a lot with promoting and interviewing. So will you tell us what are some of the things you consider, what you're looking for?
Yeah, this question is very relevant because I'm actually hiring 2 people right now. So, you know, one thing I've learned, I think, in the more recent years of my management career is that I believe that hiring someone or getting someone into a position for success is really about pairing their own set of strengths with the position. So that's how a candidate, you know, thrives, right? Is we put them in a position to be their absolute best. And I don't want to confuse that with not getting out into your comfort zone. You know, I think you also perform amazing when you push yourself into new challenges. But if you have the underlying strength set to be able to be successful in the position will only serve you. And then I would say also that as I review candidates, I look for capacity in the individual and capability first. And then once I'm able to assess that, then I take a look at their just very simple things that we all have. And that's attitude, drive, and your energy or your desire for the position or for the work. And then two other things that I look for is the ability to critically think. So I know that sounds, so basic, but, for me, somebody that I think is going to do really good in a position is somebody that's going to challenge my way of thinking, challenge the team to help us arrive at the best decisions possible. And then if I decide to take a vacation or a day off, I'm looking for someone that really can carry on the mission as if I'm there. They're just a mini me, and they're able to really, peer lead and help the team make great decisions while I'm out of the office.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so what about you? I know you same boat. You're doing a lot of interviewing and promotion. So what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think it's evolved over the years. I mean, being in leadership for over 20 years, 2 decades have changed perspectives for me. And Anna touched on something that to me is critical, because when you think about qualifications, someone that applies for a job or a position feels they're qualified. They have the skill set, the certification, sometimes the experience. But to me, it goes a step further in the interview and selection process. And to me, it's along the lines of, like she said, desire. Why do you want this job? Why do you want the career? It sounds very cliche, as you said, to say, oh, I want you to have a passion for the job. Well, not particularly this job, but what we're trying to achieve. What's the culture? What's the goals of this job I'm hiring for? And why do you want it? Because I've seen an experience over the years, and I'm sure many of you have too, where someone is more than qualified and have the skill to do a job, but they don't want to do the job. I've seen people in leadership, supervision, because they were fantastic associates or they were fantastic in what they did in that job. So we immediately want to make them a supervisor or manager. And a lot of times that's not where their passion is. They don't want to do it. So therefore, it can sometimes render them ineffective in the job. So we want to make sure when we're hiring for someone, you at least say, you know what, I have an interest in IT. I have an interest in this because, and you can almost see that light up in them when they're talking about it, because guess what that will do? That will make them an active and effective contributor as opposed to being task focused, just checking a box and going through the job. So that's kind of what I look for.
Awesome. I find it really refreshing to hear from you both that like passion and energy is something that leadership is looking for. Because I've been at GEICO, 11 years, and I don't know if it was just lack of maturity on my part or maybe just things have progressed. But in the beginning, I thought I had to be stiff and I had to, only say what I was supposed to say and not laugh too loud and things like that. So it's really great and refreshing to hear that is something that is encouraged and sought after.
And I'd like to add to that of what you're saying, because it goes back to authenticity. If you're not being authentic, you can't sustain it. And that's professionally and personally. Have you ever been around someone personally that's being fake? They can't sustain it, and now you don't trust them because you don't think, okay, can I trust this? So to me, always go in with who you are. You can always polish. I had to be polished because, I had to be coached sometimes back in the day. But I mean, I learned from that. I grew. That's called growth. And it's okay to be yourself and laugh loud. Imagine someone like me, my big personality, coming from sales, going to claims. Wait, going to IT. So be yourself. You can still be equally successful. I'm a witness.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So that covers kind of like good qualities to look for when promoting someone. But let's unpack for everyone today how to be someone who's ready to be promoted. I think most people on this call, if not all of us, will agree that having a mentor or a career coach is extremely valuable. Personally, for me, when I was looking for a career change from insurance sales to philanthropy, I went to one of our VPs, Heather McIntyre, and I was like, I'm just not happy. And maybe there's something that'd be like a little bit better for me. And what she did at that moment was stopped me and encouraged me to dream big. She said, let's not just try and find something that you would like a little bit. Let's write down everything you're great at, what your dream job would be like, and then work to create that and find that space in your life. And that I guess, like advice or guidance changed my entire life, because that's when I went from just accepting what I was good at and maybe didn't enjoy to allow me to work in an environment for something that I'm really passionate about. And I wouldn't have all these things in my life that I do with without Heather's mentorship. So I am very grateful for her leadership in my life. With that said, I know I'm not the only one on the call who is lucky enough to call Heather a mentor. And I know you've worked closely with her over the last several years. What I feel silly asking, but would you say she's been a source of motivation or inspiration for you?
Yeah, thanks, Teresa. I loved thinking about this question with you too, and kind of hearing how Heather has impacted you. And I'm excited to share some of the things that she's done for me too. And, for everybody to kind of understand the background, I had 2 different bosses in the last 2 years, and I identify both of these individuals as someone who's both of them have really challenged my professional and personal growth journey. So in 2019, specific to Heather, I had transitioned to become a customer service director after a nearly 9-year career specific to claims. And so managing and leading wasn't the big change for me. It was the work content that I would be managing, and I needed to become essentially a subject matter expert overnight in order to guide my team. And here's where Heather stepped in, and I'm lucky because I get to report to her now in the current role that I'm in, but she really helped me make this transition with ease. And there were other things that I wanted to work on as I kind of, moved into this new role. And that included high-level decision-making and thoughtful question asking to help my team dive deeper and perform even better than before. And she taught me those 2 things through leading by example, and she certainly gives you the space to do it yourself. And while sometimes super tough, to Kish's point earlier, getting that coaching, she provided me as much feedback as possible, but it allowed me to grow as quickly as possible. And then at the beginning of 2021, I transitioned into a brand new position to our company, and I had the huge opportunity and chance to lead my service director peers in more of a countrywide strategic role and make some needed changes in staffing and processes and procedures that would help our service team be the best they've ever been. And my assigned boss for that role was Jason Androkonis, and I've never in my career connected with somebody so quickly. From the first week, it had felt like we had known each other for years, and the profound sense of professional support really allowed our team to hit the ground running. And he just cared about me and also asked for my thoughts and opinions, and this really helped me develop my strategic thinking in a very big way. And then last, I just wanted to offer that I just think it's super important for all of you to find mentorship or friendship outside of your company to get unbiased advice. I have a very small group of close friends who are in similar positions to me in their companies in terms of experience or responsibility. And it's really great to bounce things off of them because they help me sift through what's real and what's not. And that's without bias. That's without that GEICO bias or whatever company you work for, thinking about working for. And it really helps me reset my mindset and helps me make really good decisions with any issues that I'm facing.
When you gave me that advice when we were talking through these questions about seeking outside counsel, I was like, wow, that is wise. That's really good, because you talk to people who are doing the same things day in and day out, hearing the same things day in and day out as you, it can kind of put on like potential rose-colored glasses. So that was really good advice, Anna. Mallorie, do you align with what Anna said? Do you have kind of a different view on mentorship and leadership?
I think I align with a lot of what Anna said. To me, mentorship is really vital for growth, and I think that you have to look for a mentor personally that shares some of the same core values as you, but has a completely different approach. Because I think it's important with mentorship too. You guys can also grow together. What you're learning from them, your perspective, still can also teach them things as well. My first mentorship, I really stumbled upon. I didn't ask for it. My mentor found me. And they had a very different opinion than mine all the time. And he really helped me to sit me down, and we would talk through it, almost have many debates with each other, because we had the same end goal, but sometimes we had very different ways of getting to that. And he helped me to be able to have an opinion and to be able to share that, regardless if others may have difference of opinions than I do, for us all to be able to be in a professional space and be able to share those different perspectives. And even my last mentorship, it happened very organically because the person was my manager at the time. But she really taught me to never stop asking questions and to challenge the status quo when things didn't make sense. She was very big about promoting strategic thinking, and I think when you have someone that has that kind of foot in the door and is confident and they have that tenure and then they take you up under their wing, is so beneficial for your own personal growth. And I've seen that in all of my mentorships, so I really highly recommend.
Awesome. So I'm glad we're all on the same page then. We can all say mentorship is a necessity and we need it to grow to our full potential. So let's go then into like, what does your full potential look like? Because I know you said you've been at GEICO over 2 decades. So I know you've achieved a ton of personal goals, career goals. What does like coming into your full potential look like at GEICO? How have you been able to achieve that?
Well, I would say, you know, from my perspective, and I can only speak personally for me, and I've seen it in mentoring other people and it come to fruition for them too. GEICO offered me stability. Initially, that's what I felt. I needed stability in my personal life and in my professional life. I wanted somewhere where I knew I could go and at least bring a paycheck. That was first. Like I needed the money to come in, and that helped me balance that. But as I started making more connections with this organization through people, like I said, I've seen people have their children graduate college when I first met them. It's helped me really go through the steps of anything that I desired to do and explore, I was able to do with this organization. Whether I start in sales, I mean, if I say, oh, I wonder what's going on in service, let me talk to people over there. Maybe I want to go there. And I've been able to do that. You know, some people don't have the desire to truly climb the corporate ladder. And I never found myself in that push, that kind of rat race to do that. I've always wanted to maximize and optimize where I was and explore what I wanted to explore. Again, that goes back to desire. So that has been fantastic for me, because once I discovered the things that are within my control, it allowed me to be active in my own career, my aspirations and achievements. And the same thing holds true personally. There were things that I wanted to do coming into this organization very young. I was able to purchase my first home before I turned 30, and my portfolio has expanded since then. And it's even my education. Now, just not the degrees and the MBA, but just learning with the organization. I mean, I'm constantly getting opportunities to sharpen skill sets. So for that, I'm very grateful.
Awesome. I love your outlook. It just makes me feel like I can go conquer the world. So thanks for sharing that. You're right. What's a goal of yours for 2022, Mikasa?
Well, 2022 for me personally, I'll continue to expand, you know, my outside business and, you know, grow my portfolio for investments. And the other piece is internally, professionally, is take advantage of all the free Microsoft certifications that's being offered right now. Since I am in IT, I kind of want to explore all of that. We're in a huge technology shift with the organization. I mean, we went historically for 85 years of delight and retain human to human, and now we're moving more into virtual assistants and that sort of thing. So our back-end networking and our back-end infrastructure is also evolving. So I will definitely be on for 2022 taking advantage of more certifications. Thank you, GEICO.
Yeah, thank you, GEICO. Mallorie, I know you shared in the beginning that you moved across the country with GEICO, so I know that that was a huge accomplishment. How else has GEICO helped you reach your career goals and personal goals?
Yeah, I would say personally, you know, GEICO has really made me feel seen as a person. Like I said, I've been here since I was 18. All of my large life events, big or small, have all happened in my career with GEICO, GEICO being the only consistent thing, really. And I feel like I've really met some amazing people that have had my backing through it all. One good thing about us promoting so much from within is that you have people that really care about you, that push you to your highest potential. And I can definitely say I've had that at many points throughout my career. But to Kish's point too, you know, the financial freedom that I've been able to gain throughout starting here at such an early age and growing through the years with GEICO, completely vesting into what I have in my 401k or different things that you don't think about necessarily when you start off your career, but I picked the right company and it's given me so much financial freedom coming into you know, my early 20s as a single mother, even completing my 4-year degree with absolutely no student loan debt. All of those things helped me in both a personal and a career sense, and it's, you know, a testament to the company.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anna, will you tell us, kind of on that same note, like how you keep balance between putting 100% at work, you know, promoting, right? Like you haven't stopped moving and promoting up the ladder in a while. And then also that you have a great, healthy, like family and friend life. So how do you find that balance?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot, so I have a lot of advice to offer. So I think the first thing is that you have to be thoughtful in what balance and a successful career personal life actually means to you. When we close out, I'll give you a tool and in our closing remarks to start to figure this out for yourself and what this really means. And what you define as success is likely different than what others may define it as. And Kish literally just said this. So it might not be climbing the corporate ladder. And I really feel like society hasn't caught up with this thought process yet. And if you're not careful, you could be putting so much undue pressure on yourself for essentially no reason because it doesn't align with your values, right? So speaking of my balance in the ability to have my high profile position, but also maintain the balance in family and social life, I just want to be crystal clear. It is not easy, not easy. So if anyone tells you that it can be done, or I got this on lock, that's a lie. But with careful and thoughtful planning, you can achieve what you want out of both. And I've made countless mistakes trying to get this right. And as a young professional, I was working a bajillion hours. I truly got sucked in. I didn't have very good balance at all. But through some tough lessons, I learned the following pro tips that I'll share. So one thing that my husband and I do is we participate in our own thing called Sunday planning. So you can do this if you're single, if you have a partner, if you whatever your life situation is, you can utilize this technique. And we essentially sit down with a physical calendar and we map out the week. So we talk about what's going on in his life for the week, any social things that he has going on, any social things that I have going on, what's going on with our kids, where do they need to be and when, and who is getting them to those places. And then the other thing that we've folded in recent years, which has really helped our communication, is we give each other an update on the work week. So I'll let him know, like, hey, I'm presenting to NSCS today. Do not come back here. So stuff like that. So it's not, the communication is crystal clear and we're not getting frustrated with each other for no reason, just simply because we didn't talk. And then I think that translates into planning your work week. So if you plan your work week and you make the space for the absolute most important things that you have to get done, you won't stress over your never-ending to-do list because you've blocked the time to get it done in your week. And so that way, when you're in your hour meeting on whatever topic it is, you can be all in because you know the rest of the week will take care of your to-do list. And then the third thing I'd offer is you have to draw the line because no one else will do it for you. You have to draw the line on when you're working and when you're not. And meaning if the time is dedicated to work, I'm all in. I'm 100% here. I'm not doing anything but work. But when I'm with my friends or family, I am not checking my email. I'm not responding to work texts. There has to be a balance and a line. And then lastly, I'll just say, work is important. It can be a passion for some, and it should be because it's a major part of your life. We spend so much time at work in our careers. But if we're being real with each other, it's a job. And so at the end of the day, if you really think about it, everyone is replaceable. Every single person is replaceable. So knowing that, my advice is, how do you show up every day so that you're not replaceable? And what do you bring to your team that adds so much value that not only does your company need you, but you want to be there as well?
I love all of that. That was like very good advice. I'm going to rewatch this and write notes because that was great. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So of course, yeah. So, okay, so we're all blessed to work for GEICO, right? We've talked about all of the things that we've been afforded to do personally and career-wise. And then now we're talking about like finding balance outside of work as well. And like for me, what it looks like pouring back outside of work, but kind of keeping those boundaries is I share like my wisdom via like TikToks and Instagram reels. I share like really good ones with my friends, and I let that be like my way to pour back into their lives and bringing them experts, because I don't want to be responsible for their bad decisions or let someone else tell them what to do. But I know that the three of you really spend a lot of time pouring in back into people, into future leaders. So Makisa, can you take some time to share with us like what it actually looks like in your life to give back to other women who want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, you know, both professionally and personally, because I mentor all the time. You know, I always let people know I block time out on my calendars to jump on and talk about things that they want to talk about. But for me, on any level, I'm big on sisterhood and positive connections, growth, and self-care. Like, you have to be balanced, mind, body, spirit, finance, whatever. Like, we will talk about it all. We will host sessions. I think I hosted one a couple weeks ago with Edward Jones to talk about financial planning and things like that. Not just, you know, for your day-to-day finance, but everything. To sounds a little bit more of it, but even after you're gone. We do vision board parties. I'm always holding these PS sessions for problem solving, because any of my friends or people close to me know you can only come to me with a grievance so many times if we're not working towards a solution. You can take that elsewhere, because it's going to be a waste of time. We need to work towards solution and remedy. So I just feel like you, I share a lot of things on social media that has moved me or helped me along the way. So I do that as much and as often as possible, because I want people at the end of the day to say, she influenced me positively. Even if it wasn't something in that moment, you may need that later to say, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Oh my gosh, there's Makisa drinking them green smoothies again. That's why her skin looks good. You know, whatever. It can be anything that's going to give somebody a good feeling about taking care of themselves, because we will be no good to anyone else if we're depleted. I know you guys have seen many, many memes on that, or, you know, posts about that, but it is so true. You have to pour into yourself to be able to pour into others. So that's my way of giving back.
I love that. I saw on your notes about the vision board meeting. So I made a note here specifically to ask you if I could please be invited to the next one.
Of course.
I will get my magazines ready, and I will cut virtually over WebEx with you.
We did it virtually. Some ladies came here, but we did it virtually. I went live with it. And, you know, I sent instructions out in a PowerPoint, because I'm crazy. I sent a PowerPoint out in advance to help them prep. I told them the main thing and the key thing is you have to print a picture of yourself and put it in the middle of the board, because everything else is centered around you. And most people don't do that. But for those that are looking to do it, you don't have to wait until the first of the year. You can do it anytime.
I love that. So one thing I did want to take some time to talk specifically with you about today, because it's about making the switch into IT. Historically, it is a male-dominated field, right? Like, we just call it what it is. And a lot of women, well, let me not speak for anyone else. Myself, I would be extremely nervous and kind of not sure if I'm capable of making that switch just based on the fact that it is a male-dominated field. So two questions. What made you want to make that switch to be a leader into the IT field, and what was the transition like?
Well, what made me want to do it is just understanding the society that we're in today. Everything is becoming automated, faster, quicker, and I'm one of those people. I want it faster, quicker, you know, convenience. I want that. And so I know that I've been blessed with this organization to be able to move around without restriction. So I know I had a strong insurance background, and I knew all those things. The technical piece, small thing to overcome, because I knew there was a need and a demand. Didn't have any reservations with it being a male-dominated field, because again, I came into claims, which is very male-dominated, and to just be, you know, be quite frank, I mean, nothing like that scares me. It's more of a challenge. So I have to do my homework and due diligence to understand the skill and what's needed to do the job, and then I went for it. So as challenging as it would be, I think the hardest piece for me in that transition is it's not as people-centric is what I was used to. Meaning there's people and there's humans doing the job, but I've always been customer facing. I've been a sales girl for a long time. I mean, I talk and connect to people. I'm a coach. I'm a performance coach. I'm a development coach. And moving into the IT world where most people are heads down, doing what they need to do, I was nervous about that. But I found that the relationships, people are people. They work best through connection. They work best through support and encouragement and perspective and diversity. So I fit in. I mean, I'm sure I scared a lot of people with all this big energy, but so transition wasn't as scary as it was challenging. Don't get me wrong. All the acronyms and understanding systems but software application felt very comfortable for me because I know what I want as a consumer. So my perspective was needed in that industry. So it wasn't as bad.
Okay, thank you. Anna, what are some ways that you give back to future leaders?
Well, I just wanted to say that I loved Kish's answer, and I just want to co-sign. I've known Kish for 15 years, and all of that she just told y'all is real. She really does all those things. She is amazing. But I think mine's, short and sweet. Same as Kish, like I never decline the conversation. So if somebody reaches out, I'll make time for anyone. And even if that's only 15 minutes, I can just squeak in somewhere. And I do this because it matters. And what Kish said, people are people. Everything starts with a conversation. And the way that people helped me is by starting the conversation with me. So I like to give back in the same way by making time.
I love that. Awesome. So it looks like we're coming up on time. I'm getting my little notification. So I know that there were some questions in the chat that we wanted to take a few minutes to answer. Courtney, do you want to go ahead and ask those for us?
Sure, definitely. We had a bunch of questions come in. You guys are amazing. It's very motivational. We love it. Our first question comes from Kathleen. She asked, are there specific types of degrees that GEICO seeks for employment? Specifically, does GEICO offer accommodations for someone with disabilities for employment?
Yes, so to answer, I can answer the second part of the question. I'm familiar with the response there. I'll hand it over to Anna for the degree portion, but we do make accommodations, of course, for people with disabilities. During onboarding, we have a process that connects you directly with our human resource department, and it works with that department works specifically with our associates to review your accommodations.
Sorry to get off mute. Yeah, and in terms of the degrees, great question. I'm really proud of GEICO's evolution in terms of the education requirements that we used to have and now what we've moved to. So we used to have very, very strict education requirements for particular positions. You had to have a certain type of degree, typically a business degree. You had to meet these core course requirements. And all of that was really important. It provided, our current management leadership team with a really good business base. But we've more recently became a little more up to date, I'd say, in terms of requirements. We support anybody who's, has a degree in anything. You can find a position at GEICO. And we have a fantastic tuition reimbursement program, which if you wanted to come, you're not done with school, you wanted to come and join our team, you can also, have your career at GEICO while finishing a degree.
Great, that's awesome. I've got another double question for you. This one comes from Justin. He said, first question is, how do you keep morale high among your teams in a virtual environment? And his second question is, how do you plan to integrate your team members back into the office as government agencies are doing?
Well, I can take the first part of that question as far as team morale. To me, it's constant engagement. Not to the point where it's disruptive, but that it's actually value add. So in an IT world, typically the way that we work in agile practice is we have daily scrum sessions. So we're constantly talking in communication about work and tasks and projects. But team meetings, one-on-one, we still have team building. We still have WebEx spaces that we can actually do breakout and spend some time together. Because for me, I'm a holistic type supervisor and coach. I need to understand what you are and where you are at all times. And guess what? Your personal life will bleed into your professional life. So how can I support you so that you're your best self when you're here? So that has a lot to do with morale. Morale, I always believe, is internal. Like you can motivate yourself internally. I can influence it, but you have to have it internally to carry it forward. So to me, I want to be the most positive influencer. So I spend a lot of time with my teams. And one-on-ones, you cannot say enough about spending that one-on-one time with them to understand what they need to be successful and feel successful and being an active contributor to the team. Because that's what's important, to have a high functioning, high performing team.
I can talk about the transition going back into the office. So we have everybody still at home today. And if I'm just being frank and honest, GEICO's handling of the work from home situation over the past 2 years, it hasn't been great. And I know that we're not the only company that's been trying to figure this out live. And it just shows that, our leadership teams are human. They're trying to make decisions on the fly with very limited information, but also keep all associates safe, but also keep the company moving, right? We need to be productive so that we can service our customers because they rely on us. But I will say, learning more about what other companies have begun to offer, our technology has dramatically increased over the last 2 years to be able to support a work from home situation. And we recently hired a new chief people officer who comes in with a ton of experience. And I know that she's already queuing up a great work from home and return to work program. But I think just like we, a large organization, and other organizations transition into more of a formal hybrid approach, there'll be different things that we need to learn and figure out as we've got some team members in the office and some team members at home. And some teams, like I said, everybody's at home. There are some associates that choose to work in the office today. So smaller groups of our workforce are figuring that out, but it'll be a big shift for our company.
That's interesting to hear about, because you hear about some saying, well, we're doing away with our whole facility in general. We're fully remote now. So it's interesting to hear other aspects into that transition between home and back into the office. Mm-hmm. One of the questions that we have is, does GEICO support or offer any other programs that are community-based or any that focus on empowerment?
I think I'll probably take this one. That is my full-time job, is to make sure that GEICO is pouring back to community-based organizations and helping out where we need to help, not just where it's on trend or what is easy to do, but we're figuring out where the work needs to be done, and we're committed to doing it. We have a community website. We just actually redid the entire thing. It is fabulous. The link is included in your handout. You can check that out. And then my LinkedIn bio is on there. So if you have questions about our community engagement efforts, absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I know we are coming up to the end of time, which I feel like that flew by really quickly for me. I don't know if it did for everyone else, but I want to do one more quick question. It's like a quick rapid fire question, and my dog is going to join us for it. In 30 seconds or less, share just one piece of advice or encouragement with the audience. And I will start. We'll do Mallorie, Makissa, and then Anna.
And my piece of advice is, where you are now is not where you have to end up. In my story, I moved out of my house when I was 17. I didn't have a ton of family support. I became a young mom at 20. So regardless of where you are right now in your college career, your personal or your family life, the situation that you're in today, it doesn't have to end up like that. So just don't give up, and it's only the beginning for all you guys.
You next? Okay. So my 30-second, it might be 32-second spiel is, be very mindful of the way that you speak to yourself and about yourself. If you have a habit of, saying things or talking yourself out of things like excuses, like I'm not a morning person, oh, I can't get to the gym, oh, they won't hire me for a job like that. Guess what? It's true. So you have to believe what you say, seek what you speak. And to me, there's so much power in what you say and what you put out into the universe. So be mindful, speak well of yourself and others, because it will go a long way.
And then mine, I would just say that, I've learned more recently, honestly, that the key to my success and happiness in my life directly aligns with understanding my values and then aligning my actions and my time spent directly with my values. And so we shared today the things that make us authentically ourselves and how we achieve what we do in our lives. And this was a little tidbit that I hinted about before, but if you haven't done value work before, I would recommend just getting started and doing it. And so all you have to do is Google Brene Brown value list. Brene is an author, so Brene Brown value list. There'll be a ton of things that pop up on Google, and you can see her offered content and get started on that work. I think you'll find it very beneficial if you haven't already.
Thank you, ladies. My final piece of advice that I'll leave everyone with is that I encourage you to never stop discovering who your authentic self is, and then do whatever you need to show up as her and for her every single day. You won't regret it. Don't forget to connect with all of us on social media. Our LinkedIn bios are in your handouts. Follow up with us with any additional questions or anything you may want to review. And then I'll hand it back over to you, Courtney.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us and giving our members your wisdom and experience and great advice. I love that each and one of your stories was different, but the same at the same time. It's unique and it's awesome. Our members got a lot out of this. For the members, thank you for joining us. If you have any other follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to email them to nscs@nscs.org. Your handouts are under the handouts tab underneath the menu. We will be uploading them again on Scholar Central for you to have. Give us about 24 to 48 hours for this recording to come up. And thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful day. Thank you, ladies.
Bye, everyone.